I do love the fact that it is the Clooneys that are now delivering Harry and Meghan a taste of their own medicine.
There was a time when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle appeared to have achieved something few people in modern public life ever manage. They had stepped away from royal duties, crossed the Atlantic, and seemed poised to build an entirely new world around themselves. Hollywood's most influential figures appeared eager to welcome them. Global media attention followed their every move. And among all the famous names connected to the Sussex story, one friendship stood out above the rest. George and Amal Clooney. Because George Clooney was never simply another celebrity on a guest list.
Breaking today, shocking new details have emerged about why George and Amal Clooney ditched Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Long before Harry and Meghan arrived in California, Clooney had already established himself as one of the most powerful and respected figures in global entertainment. He moved comfortably between Hollywood, politics, philanthropy, and international diplomacy. When George Clooney attached his name to a person or a cause, people paid attention. That is precisely why his connection to Harry and Meghan carried so much weight. When the Clooneys appeared at the royal wedding in 2018, many saw it as more than a celebrity appearance. It looked like a signal, a sign that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had successfully connected two worlds that rarely overlap at the highest level, royalty and Hollywood influence. The relationship appeared to deepen quickly. Reports emerged that Harry and Meghan had spent time at Clooney's famous Lake Como estate in Italy, one of the most exclusive private properties in Europe. The image was powerful. A prince who had stepped away from the monarchy was now building friendships with some of the most influential people in America. Then came the moment that truly mattered. In 2019, as criticism and media scrutiny surrounding Meghan intensified, George Clooney publicly defended her. And he did not offer some vague celebrity statement designed to avoid controversy. Instead, he made headlines around the world by comparing the treatment Meghan was receiving to the treatment once faced by Princess Diana. For Harry, that comparison must have carried enormous significance. This was not merely a famous actor expressing support. This was one of the most recognizable men in the world publicly connecting Meghan's experience to the memory of Harry's mother. It was a statement that immediately elevated Clooney from celebrity acquaintance to something much more meaningful. Which is why what happened next has become so fascinating. Because if you look at the story today, nearly everything that once seemed visible has quietly disappeared. There was no dramatic public argument, no explosive interview, no scandal exposing a feud, no headline announcing the end of a friendship. Instead, something arguably more intriguing occurred. The public signs of that relationship simply faded away. The photographs stopped. The appearances stopped. The public support stopped. And as the years passed, the silence became increasingly difficult to ignore. That silence alone would be interesting enough. But what makes this story far more significant is that the Clooney relationship may not be an isolated example at all. Because when royal observers began looking closer, they noticed a pattern that stretched far beyond George Clooney. And if that pattern is real, it raises a much larger question about the world Harry and Meghan expected to build after leaving royal life. The most interesting part of this story is not that George Clooney stopped publicly defending Harry and Meghan. The most interesting part is what replaced that defense. Nothing. No criticism. No public disagreement. No attempt to explain what changed. Just silence. And in celebrity circles, silence can sometimes say more than 100 interviews. Think about it. George Clooney has built an entire career on speaking when he believes something matters. Whether the issue involved politics, humanitarian causes, press freedom, or international conflicts, he has never been known as someone who avoids taking a position. When Clooney believes in something, he usually says so openly. That is why many royal commentators find his absence from the Sussex conversation so striking. When Harry and Meghan relocated to California, many expected relationships like the Clooney connection to grow stronger. The logic seemed obvious. They were now living in the same country, moving within similar elite circles, and pursuing careers that increasingly overlapped with the entertainment world. Yet the opposite appears to have happened. Instead of more public appearances, there were fewer. Instead of new collaborations, there were none. Instead of visible friendship, there was distance. Now, it is important to be fair. Friendships naturally change. People become busy. Priorities shift. Not every relationship that begins strongly is meant to last forever. That happens in every walk of life. But what transformed this from a simple friendship story into something much larger was what happened in the years that followed. As Harry and Meghan became involved in increasingly controversial public projects, George Clooney remained noticeably absent from the conversation. The Oprah interview generated headlines across the globe. Silence. The Netflix documentary sparked another wave of debate. Silence. The publication of Spare created one of the biggest royal controversies in years. Again, silence. For most celebrities, that might not seem unusual. But George Clooney was not most celebrities. This was the same man who had once publicly compared Meghan's treatment to that of Princess Diana. The contrast between his vocal support in 2019 and his complete absence during later controversies became impossible for many observers to ignore. Then came a moment that intensified speculation even further. In 2023, George and Amal Clooney attended an event connected to King Charles's charitable work through the King's Trust. On its own, there was nothing controversial about the appearance. The Clooneys have long been involved in philanthropy and international causes. Attending such an event was entirely consistent with their public profile. But timing matters. By that stage, Harry's relationship with the royal institution had become increasingly strained. Public criticism of the monarchy had become a central part of his post-royal narrative. Yet here was one of his most prominent former supporters appearing comfortably within an event associated with the very institution Harry had spent years criticizing. The symbolism was impossible to miss. Whether intentional or not, it created a striking contrast. And once people noticed that contrast, they began looking beyond the Clooneys. Because suddenly the question was no longer about one friendship. The question became whether other high-profile relationships from the Sussex Golden Era were quietly following the same path. As royal commentators began widening the lens beyond George Clooney, they noticed something that made the story considerably more difficult to dismiss as a single friendship naturally fading over time. The same pattern seemed to be appearing elsewhere. Not in one relationship, not in two, but across multiple high-profile names who had once been publicly associated with Harry and Meghan during the height of their popularity. And that is where the discussion becomes truly fascinating. Cast your mind back to the royal wedding in 2018. The guest list itself became a global headline. It was packed with influential figures from entertainment, sport, media, and international philanthropy. The sheer concentration of famous names created an impression that Harry and Meghan were uniquely positioned to bridge two powerful worlds. On one side stood royalty. On the other stood Hollywood. For a moment, it looked like they belonged comfortably to both. David Beckham and Victoria Beckham were among the guests. Serena Williams was widely regarded as one of Meghan's closest celebrity friends. Oprah Winfrey would later become the most influential media figure connected to the Sussex story. Idris Elba not only attended the wedding but famously helped DJ the reception itself. Looking back, the network appeared extraordinary. Yet when observers compare that image with the picture that exists today, the contrast is striking. David Beckham's name is now far more frequently associated with King Charles, Prince William, and Catherine than with Harry and Meghan. His public appearances increasingly place him within the orbit of the wider royal family rather than the Sussexes. Serena Williams, once considered one of Meghan's strongest supporters, has become noticeably less visible within the ongoing Sussex narrative. The friendship may still exist privately, but the public association that once generated regular headlines is far less prominent than it was during the early years. Then there is Oprah Winfrey. Perhaps no individual played a larger role in the Sussex story than Oprah. Her interview with Harry and Meghan became one of the most watched and discussed television events of the decade. For many viewers, she represented the ultimate symbol of the couple's arrival within America's most powerful media circles. Yet in the years since, Oprah has largely remained on the sidelines. No major public collaborations. No repeated involvement in Sussex projects. No visible effort to become part of the continuing controversies. Again, this does not prove hostility. It does not prove friendships have ended, but it does suggest something important. The relationships that once seemed central to the Sussex narrative no longer appear to occupy the same public space they once did. And that distinction matters, because celebrity influence is not measured solely by who knows whom behind closed doors. It is also measured by visible association, by shared appearances, public endorsements, collaborative projects, the signals that communicate who stands beside whom. Those signals have become increasingly rare, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. What if the issue is not that Harry and Meghan lost individual friendships? What if the issue is that the social architecture they expected to build after leaving royal life has not proven as durable as it once appeared? And if that is the case, then George Clooney may not be the story at all. He may simply be the most visible example of a much larger pattern that has been unfolding quietly for years. What makes this entire situation particularly revealing is that it forces a much bigger question about Harry's post-royal strategy, one that goes far beyond George Clooney, Oprah Winfrey, or any individual celebrity relationship. When Harry and Meghan left Britain in 2020, the move was widely viewed as the beginning of a new chapter. California represented freedom, opportunity, and access to a network of influential people who understood fame, public pressure, and global visibility. On paper, it looked like the perfect environment for a couple determined to build an independent future. And initially, that vision appeared to be working. The media deals were enormous. The headlines were everywhere. The celebrity connections seemed impressive. For a while, it felt as though Harry and Meghan had successfully replaced one powerful world with another. But Hollywood operates according to a different set of rules than royalty. Royal status is institutional. Once you are born into it, the position exists whether people approve of you or not. Hollywood is different. Hollywood is transactional. Relationships evolve constantly. Public alliances shift. Influence depends on relevance, reputation, and perceived value within a constantly changing social landscape. That distinction may be the key to understanding what happened next. Many of the figures associated with Harry and Meghan were already powerful long before the Sussexes arrived in California. George Clooney did not need royal connections. Oprah did not need royal connections. David Beckham did not need royal connections. They had spent decades building networks, reputations, and influence entirely on their own. In other words, these individuals were never joining Harry's world. Harry was entering theirs. That is a subtle difference, but it changes everything, because it meant that the relationships surrounding the Sussexes would always be subject to the same pressures and calculations that affect every Hollywood relationship. Public perception matters. Brand alignment matters. Professional priorities matter. And as the controversies surrounding Harry and Meghan continued to generate headlines year after year, many of those relationships appeared to become less visible rather than more visible. Not through dramatic confrontations, not through public betrayals, simply through distance, which may explain why the Clooney story resonates so strongly. It is not really about George Clooney at all. It is about expectations. The expectation that Hollywood would provide a stable alternative to the royal system Harry left behind. The expectation that celebrity influence could replace institutional influence. The expectation that a powerful network built in the excitement of a new chapter would remain unchanged as circumstances evolved. Now, to be fair, nobody outside these relationships truly knows what happens behind closed doors. Private friendships remain private. Public silence does not automatically mean personal hostility, but what can be observed is the visible picture. And the visible picture looks very different from the one many people imagined in 2020. Which brings us to the most important question of all. If the celebrity alliances that once appeared strongest are no longer publicly visible, what does that reveal about the foundation upon which Harry and Meghan built their post-royal future? Because the answer to that question may tell us far more about their California chapter than any individual friendship ever could. And perhaps that is why the George Clooney story continues to attract so much attention long after the friendship itself appears to have faded from public view. Because at its heart, this is not really a story about George Clooney. It is a story about expectations colliding with reality. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal life, many observers believed they were exchanging one powerful network for another. They were leaving behind the centuries-old institution of the monarchy and entering a world filled with global celebrities, media executives, billionaires, philanthropists, and cultural influencers. For a time, that transition looked remarkably successful. The wedding guest list alone seemed to confirm it. The Clooneys, Oprah Winfrey, Serena Williams, David Beckham. Some of the most recognizable names on the planet appeared connected to the Sussex story. The future seemed limitless. The assumption was that these relationships would become the foundation of a new chapter that could rival, or perhaps even surpass, the influence Harry once enjoyed within the royal family. Yet 6 years later, the picture appears far more complicated. The celebrity network that once looked so impressive has become increasingly difficult to see. Not because of public feuds, not because of explosive betrayals, but because visibility itself has faded. The photographs are fewer. The joint appearances are rarer. The public endorsements have largely disappeared. And that absence leaves behind a question that no statement can fully answer. What changed? Was it simply the natural evolution of friendships that formed during an extraordinary period of global attention? Was it the accumulated weight of controversy that made public association less attractive over time? Or was it something even simpler? A reminder that Hollywood friendships often operate according to different rules than many people imagine? The truth is that nobody outside those relationships can know with certainty. What we can observe, however, is the pattern. George Clooney's public support in 2019 was powerful precisely because it carried personal risk. He chose to speak when remaining silent would have been easier. That is why his later silence feels significant to so many observers. The contrast between those two moments creates a story that people continue to debate years later. But perhaps the most revealing lesson has nothing to do with Clooney himself. Perhaps the lesson is that influence built through celebrity relationships is often less permanent than influence built through institutions. Hollywood networks shift constantly. Alliances evolve. Public priorities change. The people who appear central to one chapter can become almost invisible in the next. And if that is true, then the disappearance of the Clooney connection may represent something larger than a single friendship fading away. It may represent the broader reality of Harry's California journey, a journey that began with enormous expectations, extraordinary opportunities, and some of the most powerful names in the world standing nearby. Yet today, many of those names appear to be standing somewhere else. Whether that reflects deliberate choices, changing priorities, or simply the passage of time remains open to interpretation. But it is a question that continues to follow the Sussex story wherever it goes. So now I'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you believe George and Amal Clooney made a conscious decision to distance themselves from Harry and Meghan? Or do you think this was simply a friendship that naturally faded as lives moved in different directions? And more importantly, what do you think the Clooney story reveals about the strength of the Sussexes' Hollywood network today? Share your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal family analysis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.